Karen's smug grin as she waved her HOA rulebook felt like a slap to my face, but nothing burned hotter than watching her sabotage my dam project. The whole neighborhood knew she'd do anything to enforce her perfect community vision, even if it meant drowning us all. I'd spent years designing that dam, a modest barrier to protect our low-lying town from the river's seasonal wrath. As an engineer, I poured my soul into it, calculations triple-checked, permits secured, community meetings held. Everyone was on board, except Karen, the HOA president with a vendetta against anything that didn't fit her aesthetic. "It's an eyesore," she declared at the town hall, her manicured nails tapping the podium like a war drum. "We don't need your ugly concrete ruining our curb appeal." The crowd murmured, but her clique of loyalists cheered, and I knew I was in for a fight. Karen didn't just complain, she acted. Late one night, I caught her and her minions tampering with the dam's foundation, loosening bolts and chiseling at the base. I confronted her, my voice shaking with rage. "You're risking lives, Karen. This isn't about your flower beds." She laughed, her eyes glinting with malice. "This is about standards, Jake. You'll thank me when your monstrosity is gone." By dawn, cracks spiderwebbed across the dam's surface, and the river's pressure was already winning. I tried to warn the town, but Karen's charm offensive had painted me as the reckless one. The climax hit on a stormy Tuesday, the sky as furious as my heart. The dam groaned under the river's assault, and I stood on its edge, staring at the fissures Karen's sabotage had worsened. She was there too, flanked by her HOA cronies, still clutching her rulebook like a shield. "You should have listened," she sneered, but her confidence wavered as the ground trembled. Water sprayed through the cracks, a deafening roar drowning out her words. I shouted for everyone to run, but the crowd froze, mesmerized by the chaos. Then, with a sickening crunch, the dam gave way. A wall of water surged forward, swallowing the riverbank and rushing toward the neighborhood. Karen's scream pierced the air as she realized her victory was her undoing. The flood was merciless. It tore through the streets, uprooting trees, smashing cars, and flooding homes. My house, Karen's pristine mansion, the community center, all were submerged. I waded through waist-deep water, helping neighbors to higher ground, my chest tight with guilt. I'd built the dam to save them, but Karen's sabotage had turned my work into their ruin. In the distance, I saw her clinging to a lamppost, her rulebook floating away like a pathetic flag of surrender. For a moment, I wanted to let her drown in her pride, but I couldn't. I slogged through the muck, grabbed her arm, and pulled her to safety. She didn't thank me, just glared, as if I'd caused the flood. The aftermath was a reckoning. The neighborhood was a wasteland of mud and debris, families displaced, savings wiped out. At the emergency town meeting, Karen tried to spin the narrative, blaming my faulty dam. But the truth clawed its way out. A neighbor had recorded her tampering that night, and the video spread faster than the flood. The crowd turned on her, their voices a chorus of betrayal. "You destroyed us," one woman screamed, her home now a pile of soggy drywall. Karen's face crumpled, her authority washed away with the wreckage. I didn't feel triumph, only exhaustion. I'd fought for the dam to protect them, but her obsession with control had cost us everything. The counterattack came organically. Neighbors banded together, not under Karen's HOA but as a real community. We salvaged what we could, shared food, and rebuilt. I led a volunteer crew to reinforce the riverbank, using scraps and ingenuity since the town's budget was gone. Karen, ostracized, tried to insert herself, offering half-hearted apologies and promises to fix the HOA. No one listened. Her reign was over, her name synonymous with ruin. I saw her once, packing her car to leave, her face hollow. I wanted to hate her, but pity crept in. She'd lost more than a home, her identity as the neighborhood's queen was gone. The ending, though, wasn't sweet. We rebuilt, but the scars remained. My dam was gone, my reputation battered despite the truth. Families moved away, unable to afford the recovery. The river, now unchecked, loomed as a constant threat. I stood on the new, makeshift levee one evening, watching the water glint under the sunset. A kid, maybe 10, approached me, holding a soggy photo of his old house. "Why didn't it work, Jake?" he asked. I didn't have an answer. Karen's sabotage had broken more than concretite shattered trust, dreams, and the illusion of safety. I ruffled his hair and promised we'd keep trying. But as I walked home, the weight of the flood settled in my bones. We'd survived, but at what cost? The weeks after the flood were a blur of mud and grit. We toiled under a relentless sun, hauling debris and hammering together makeshift homes. The neighborhood, once a tidy grid of lawns and picket fences, was now a patchwork of survival. Karen's absence left a void, but not the kind anyone mourned. Her name was a curse whispered over campfires, a cautionary tale of pride gone wrong. I threw myself into the rebuild, not because I was a hero, but because guilt gnawed at me. My dam had failed. Karen's sabotage didn't erase my responsibility. Every splintered board I carried felt like penance. One night, under a starless sky, I found the kid from the levee, Tim, sitting on a pile of salvaged bricks. His photo was gone, lost to the river, but his eyes held the same question: why? I sat beside him, the silence heavy. "It's not just about the dam," I said finally. "It's about people thinking they know better than everyone else." He nodded, too young to fully grasp it but old enough to feel the loss. I told him about my dad, an engineer like me, who taught me that building something lasting takes more than concretite takes trust. Karen had shattered that, but we were piecing it back together, brick by brick. The community grew stronger, not because of rules but despite them. We shared tools, meals, and stories of what we'd lost. A woman whose bakery was gone baked bread in a borrowed oven, passing loaves to strangers. A retired carpenter taught kids like Tim to hammer nails straight. I redesigned the levee, simpler this time, using local stone and volunteer muscle. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Yet, the river never let us forget. Its current roared louder now, a reminder of what we'd survived and what we hadn't. Some neighbors never returned, their homes empty shells. My own house was half repaired, its walls stained with the flood's memory. The final blow wasn't the water, it was the realization that nothing would be the same. At a town meeting, we unveiled the new levee, a rugged monument to our resilience. People clapped, but their eyes were tired. Tim stood beside me, holding a new photo, one he'd drawn of the old neighborhood. It was childish, imperfect, but it captured what we'd lost better than any camera. I looked at the crowd and saw my failure reflected back, not in the dam, but in trusting a system that let Karen's ego run unchecked. We'd rebuilt, but the cost was etched in every face. The river still flows, and so do we.